Travel Saturday with Sarah and Ed and Tropical Sky. Start your dream with tailor-made holidays to the Caribbean, Far East, Maldives and beyond. Flying from Shannon Airport with tropicalsky.ie.
They're back. Sarah Slattery and Ed Finn are in studio.
Morning, Trina.
Good morning. Do you know, I can't keep up with you guys. The amount of flights that we've been giving away every Saturday on the show. We've already sorted out numerous people for their holidays between New York, Chicago, Boston. Can I ask it?
Yeah, you can absolutely. Sarah, where are we off to this week?
We're back to New York again.
Yeah.
We have another 2 flights to New York, this time with Aer Lingus, thanks to Shannon Airport and Tropical Sky.
Okay, so if you missed out on winning the week that we were doing the New York flights, Pete the Postman won that week. Another chance today. This is fabulous. So that's with Shannon Airport and tropicalsky.ie. What location are we going to look at today for your holiers?
So a place very, very beautiful. I always thought it was about 4 countries in one. South Africa.
Wow.
Yeah. Nicosia, Africa. I lived there for about 7 years.
He just throws that out there like as if it's a normal.
Went
you were
there
for 7 years.
Went there for a year and then ended up staying there. Like I run a little travel company there and I started working with Cape Talk Radio. But it's a kind of a place where you just get sucked into it, you know, because it's so beautiful. Like, I mean, Cape Town, I suppose, Sarah, isn't like it's not like you think Africa, you know, because South Africa is so cosmopolitan and bohemian. The food scene is amazing there, you know. It's called the Mother City because they say it takes 9 months for anything to happen because it's very laid back, right? So very laid back. And that's the name they have for it. But it's beautiful. And of course, like the amount of things you can do in terms of safari, winelands. I mean, the penguins on the beach.
There he goes talking about the wine again.
I know. I was getting withdrawals there. I hadn't mentioned wine for about a half an hour. But yeah, I mean, like Stellenbosch has 50 wineries, right? I mean, I don't think I did all of them, Trina, but I give it a good lash. Franschhoek, beautiful French corner. And then the garden route, of course, you go. I mean, the ideal package was, I suppose, you do Cape Town, go down the garden route, Neisner, George, all these beautiful places, and then you could do Port Elizabeth, and you do your safari down there, which is malaria free, Kariga. Shamwari and all these places, beautiful.
Yeah, that's probably the most, I suppose, iconic trip. The typical sort of tourist trail that people do. You fly into Cape Town. You make like this. You could actually just go to Cape Town and spend a week there. Like, it's just fabulous. And another fantastic settling point, well, there's 2. One is that the rand is so low, the exchange rate, it's really hard to spend your money. It's so cheap. And the other thing is that there's no time difference, maybe an hour or 2.
Yeah, an hour,
because of the latitude.
Just an hour,
There's no jet lag. You could actually fly there, go for a short break and come back, and there's nothing like going to the States, completely different.
What's the flight time?
About 10 hours. Now, I mean, you can go different ways, right? Obviously, you can do the Middle Eastern, you know, Qatar, and you have Emirates as well. But Turkish Airlines have very good flights there as well. There was direct flights before. British Airways, I did loads of times, was really good out of London, just direct, you know, Dublin, London, and then connect. And again, Iberia, I also did very good connections.
There's loads of different
Dublin, Madrid's Cape Town. But yeah, as I said, like a lot of all the airlines connect over. Very good fares.
That's something people need to be careful when they're booking, because if they don't look at, you know, how long it takes to get, it takes them 3 days because they don't look at the flights that they're booking.
Yeah.
And there's all these stopovers and, you know, you lose a lot of time. You don't want to lose 3 days of your holiday.
Particularly if you're doing that typical tourist trail, usually people would fly into Cape Town and fly out of Port Elizabeth. Would they get a connecting flight usually from Port Elizabeth maybe to Johannesburg and on, or Port Elizabeth to Cape Town and on. So check that the airline you're looking at also flies from Port Elizabeth as well.
Yeah.
But like somebody like Tropical Sky or like, you know, a South African specialist will do all that for you. You don't have to worry about it. And as Ed said, the malaria is actually quite a big thing. Because when I went the first time I went went to a safari in Kruger National Park, and it was amazing and everything. But the malaria tablets, they take a lot out of you. They're not pleasant. Whereas if you go to any of the game reserves along the Cape, it's malaria free. You don't have to take malaria tablets. And it's actually, it's only when you've actually done it and not done it, you realise the advantage is really quite big. And they're fabulous game reserves down there. As Ed mentioned, 2 of them there. And then I stayed another one, Amacala, which was incredible. And like you can do, if you don't want to do, some people are a bit nervous of driving. We did the driving route that's really well policed, isn't it? Like police
fabulous.
All the way
Beautiful
along.
roads.
We never had an issue.
Super.
Safety at all. Absolutely never had a problem. But I know some people are still nervous. So you can just hop a flight. from Cape Town up to Port Elizabeth, and avoid that if you want to just do Cape Town, the winelands. Most of the winelands are very close to Cape Town. You can do that together, and then the safaris up the other end. If you want to just hop a flight, you can do. But I would really recommend driving it, stopping at the beach resorts, stopping at the lovely towns along the way. I think that's all part and parcel.
And the other
the
thing
adventure of it, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I mean, the other thing as well, I mean, the ostriches are huge there. There's all these ostrich farms.
Yeah.
You can do races and everything. But Robertson and all those other, Worcester and all these other towns, they all do the kind of the Black Swart Valley. They have the most beautiful places you can hire, and they're on the river. They would be like McGregor is another amazing place that loads of artists go to, and it's like this town at the end of nowhere, and it's just beautiful. It's all these little
wonder
stuppies.
Conor McGregor hasn't tried to buy that town.
Maybe he has,
Maybe
yeah.
he has.
And the other thing we can't, of course, we have to mention is Robben Island and, of course, Nelson Mandela, because, when I remember going there first, I think it was 1994, he was just in, and it was just amazing. And my birthday is the 18th of July, as is was his. So when his birthday was on, like, they used to have a huge celebration, and I used to kind of tag along. I used to have a great time because it was the same day. It was great, Trina. July 18th, you as well. Yeah, but I met Desmond Tutu one time. He was great crack. He was really nice, yeah, because we did a big St. Patrick's event there every year, all the Irish down there. He was very involved with it, and I never got to meet Nelson, unfortunately, but yeah.
You were saying to me, Ed, if anyone goes on
But
holidays
Robben
there,
Island, sorry, Trina, I was saying to you, like,
yeah.
where he was incarcerated for 25 years. I mean, that's just, like, again, it's like one of those places you go to and you're like, God, how did anybody live in this little cell all those years
Tiny,
and
was
come
it?
out with this amazing, worldly, altruistic, forgiving, just accept it. It was amazing. And like when the famous event when, at one of the matches, they played the national anthem in Xhosa and they hadn't played it in Afrikaans, and he stood up and he said, play it in Afrikaans as well. So, he was so conscious of the fact that South Africa is a country like, it's first world meets third world, and it's a symbiotic relationship where one can't really exist without the other. And when you're there and you go to visit the townships, you can see a lot of poverty, but it's improved over the years, like 1 million people living in a township. And then you go into Cape Town and Camps Bay where all the models are, and you see all these amazing...
world, yeah.
It's just different worlds.
You were saying to me there that you can buy a house in with a swimming pool for 100 grand.
Yeah, it was like, again, property really reasonable there. You could live really well. When you go into the supermarket there, you don't pack your own bags, because there's people do that. And when you go to the petrol station, you don't get, like, it's very much.
You do like in America.
Everyone has jobs. Really, not. It's not the same
It's
at
just
all. It's not a
part of the
tipping
thing.
culture.
Yeah.
But you can in restaurants, of course. But again, it's just very service friendly. Like, there's great service there wherever you go. And in the restaurants as well, you always find really good service.
South Africa is a big destination for honeymooning couples as well, Sarah. And you were saying you went there on your honeymoon.
That was my first time to go to South Africa. I won't say how long ago it was, but it was a long time. We went on our honeymoon, and we travelled all around actually that time, and I just loved it. In fact, that was the first safari we ever did, and after that I just went on this kind of safari bug. And if you ever do, like, just to see the animals in the wild, it's
amazing.
Incredible.
I think I was telling you about my friend recently who went on safari, and she's obsessed now. She's like saving for the next one.
Yeah.
She can't wait to get back.
You go out in the morning, like you're up at 6:30 or 7, and the steam is rising, and these giraffes majestically walk past you, and you're looking, and you're like, oh my, like it's unbelievable. And the big five, of course, when you get to see, I saw a leopard, but I saw a leopard in Namibia, which is just next. It used to be part of South Africa. Another beautiful place to go, by the way. But leopard, the rhino, the big five. But it just, but you, as you said, there, like you feel like you're connected to nature or something, isn't it?
It's an incredible feeling.
Can't describe it.
And I remember then, I think about 2 years later, we went to Tanzania. I just loved Africa anyway. I loved the people. But then my son was always really big into animals from a very young age. In fact, we always kept thinking he was going to go working in the zoo or something.
Yeah.
So about 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, we decided we'd bring the kids, and we did that typical trail. We started in Cape Town. We went to the winelands, which is actually very doable with kids too, by the way. Don't be put off. And then we drove the garden route and we did the safari, and they still talk about it. It was such an incredible experience.
What an experience. How lucky are your kids, Sarah, really?
The other thing that you can do there, by the way, as well, which is amazing. I mean, I don't know if you did, Sarah, I did, is whale watching. Hermanus, in May, they have the whale watching season. The southern right whales come in. And I remember we were out in a boat and literally put your hand out and we touched, like, it was unbelievable. Right. Now, of course, you can do shark cage diving as well. We went to, Gansbaai, and Brad Pitt had just been there doing shark cage diving. We just missed Brad and the English cricket team, right? But it's, they chum the waters and you go into the cage. I'm sure you've seen some of the horror movies, the shark movies. And like for me, it's not about the kid, but putting on the wetsuit and taking off the wetsuit is the worst thing in the world. I absolutely hate it.
You should try
it's like
bringing
peeling
kids.
Your skin off yourself.
You should try bringing kids to swimming lessons.
Like it's a bit controversial, shark cage diving, but I mean, it's unreal. Like these 4-meter sharks come in right up to you. It's very popular there, but that's something you can do there, which is in May to October. That's the whale season when they come in, and that's just phenomenal.
So Sarah, were you afraid, Sarah, on the safari at all, the animals? Like, how close do you get to them?
The very first night, when you're here, it depends on what time you arrive, and you hear the kind of sounds outside, you're a bit afraid to go to sleep. But there's people patrolling all the areas, they're there.
But they're only people.
Well,
these are wild animals.
They've big guns.
Yeah.
But so you feel, but the first night it is a bit scary, but it's amazing how quick you start to really trust there's like a spotter on your vehicle, and then there's the driver, and you just feel like you just kind of trust them, and you just feel they know everything, and then you just feel, oh, grand, I'll go walk anywhere, I'll do anywhere. I'll tell you, that's fine.
I was in a place called Endeavour, which is up near Johannesburg. It's a gorgeous, another beautiful private game reserve, and we were part of a group, and you weren't allowed to go from like the restaurant back to your cabin. The ranger would take you with and he had guns, of course, as well, because there was kind of lines around, but like not near you, but they possibly could be there. But there was a Czech couple, right? And they didn't speak English. Well, the husband didn't speak English. And when we were being told what not to do and what not to do, the wife never told him. So he went off back to the tent to get cigarettes. And next thing the ranger, like, where's Milan? And I was like, he went to get cigarettes. But geez, the ranger went.
Oh my God.
So, you have to be careful. But some places, the lions are in a different compound or, obviously. But, you are out in nature, and you have to remember that's their patch, and you have to be careful.
They do generally have typical times, early morning game drive and afternoon game drive.
Yeah.
But then they'll also, if you're in a kind of really small private one, they'll usually, I remember they'd call you, they could knock on your door and say, there's been a kill here. And you go to see it, know. So they adapt to the whole environment, and they'll bring you somewhere that if something's actually happening that's worth seeing.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of some of these small private ones. It's probably the only thing in South Africa that's expensive. You look at the price and you could see $500 a night and you'd be like, what? But all your food is included, your drinks are included, your games drives are included, and you only really probably usually stay, if you time it right, 2 nights, but you get a game drive in the morning you leave as well. That will be the most expensive part of your trip. The hotels and spending money everywhere else is really cheap. So I'd say definitely splash out on that part, because that's the real wow experience you're going to have.
That's something you're never going to forget.
We saw. I mean, my mother came down to visit when I was down there, and
Did she? Yeah.
we were doing a game drive, and we saw lions killing a gazelle, and of course Noreen got hysterical in the back of the thing, and the Germans were like, what's wrong? Because you couldn't pay, but that was a real, as if you were watching David Attenborough or something. But my mum wasn't ready for this experience at all.
I mean, it would be very upsetting to see that.
Because they don't see the Jeep. I mean, they'll tell you, they don't see the Jeep with you all sitting in, they don't look on that as prey, so you're usually safe enough, but you have the ranger with the gun, so you have to be you're assured of this.
You're usually safe enough.
I remember one time when we were there for the first time and we stopped to watch something, and a lion walked over. It was really, really hot. And he walked over to take shade under the Jeep, and he literally fell asleep under the wheel of the Jeep.
Jesus.
So we were afraid to move. We were like, do we go? Do we not go? Incredible experiences you have.
There's another famous, on the Garden, Addo Elephant Park is another famous place, I mean, for elephants. And we were there driving along. Next thing, this big bull elephant jumped out of these big reeds and started charging. And the fear of God is inside. You're like, this is it, we're done. And then he just stopped. And the ranger was just looking at, they kind of know what they're at. They even know. But I mean, there's, was it 300 elephants in the Addo Elephant Park? Another amazing place to go. But that was just moment of the elephant's like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, but that's your time to go. That's your time to go.
Yeah.
A good way, I guess. Yeah. But no, there's loads of things, and I know we always go on about the wildlife, but I mean, that was the first place I ever paraglided. I paraglided off Signal Hill in Cape Town.
Beautiful.
That was an incredible experience as well. It's one of those places that...
And helicopter. I did a helicopter. The Vietnam helicopter there that you could do the MASH thing. You could fly around the point with in one of those helicopters. So They've great stuff that you can do.
And much, like, if you were to price some of them in the States, for instance, like, there's just be no comparison. Like, you wouldn't be able to afford them.
Yeah.
So a lot of these really kind of cool experiences, it's the place to do them. There's so many different things that you can do. And I know we focus a lot on the wildlife, but there's so much more. I think the biggest bungee jump in the world is there as well. And there's loads of all. It's a big adventure.
Yeah, off that bridge.
Yeah.
I thought my eyes were going to pop out. I won't be doing it again anyway. There's a great place called Durbanville, which is just outside, about 20 kilometres outside Cape Town. And they have 7 wineries there as well. Mirandal, Bloemendal. They've won an award. Gorgeous place to go for beautiful lunches in these Cape Dutch farms. And then there's a fabulous theme park, Ratanga Junction as well, which has roller coasters and vibrant mad stuff, which is again a big shopping area. But Ratanga Junction for kids, it's a great theme park as well, and that's just outside.
Who flies to South Africa?
Everyone. Lufthansa, British Airways, you name it.
South African Airways,
Turkish Airlines,
Qatar,
Emirates, Qatar, Etihad.
I mean, we've talked about how much there is to see and do there. I definitely think you need to talk to a specialist if you're planning a trip. It's a trip of a lifetime. Get it right. Talk to people like Tropical Sky who have specialists who've been there, will be able to recommend the right. I mean, it's a place you can kind of combine these gorgeous, fabulous little local guest houses, like plush kind of fancy guest houses.
Amazing, yeah.
Amazing. With 5-star hotels, with game reserves. We went to this incredible place called Cape St. Francis. Have to give them a shout out. One of the best places I've ever been. A lot of people don't know about it, but it was our agent who told me about it, as opposed to Plettenberg Bay and all these famous places, you know. So definitely, I'd say talk to the people in Tropical Sky. They've loads of deals. They even will include like trips to Victoria Falls and on the Blue Train. And, you know, if you want to totally elevate your package.
Now you see why I stayed for 7 years. I
was just going to say, are you feeling a bit nostalgic now?
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, you know, it is. But the first time I went there, as soon as I'm sitting here, I felt I'd come home. You know that feeling when the plane came into land?
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I felt this weird feeling. I had come home. Very strange.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, fabulous. South Africa.
Some of those packages, 1,500 quid, including all the stuff, they're really good.
Okay, we've come to the end of our chat, which means we have our question for our flights to New York with tropicalsky.ie and Shannon Airport. You'll be flying out of Shannon Airport, the return flights, and we need to ask a question. So I hope you've been paying attention.
And the question is, so what date was Nelson Mandela born?
I know this answer.
What date was Nelson Mandela born?
Really?
It's in July.
That's an African accent.
Oh my
but anyway.
God. You sure he lived there? It's also Ed Finn's birthday, so I'm sure everybody knows that. There's probably celebrations in town anytime.
Yeah, I don't celebrate now anymore. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay, if you know Nelson Mandela's birthday, what date it is, you can text in your answer with your name and location to 087 188 0008, and you could be heading to New York from Shannon Airport with thanks to tropicalsky.ie and Shannon Airport. See you next week.
Cheers,
Bye.
Trina.
Travel Saturday with Sarah and Ed and Tropical Sky. Start your dream with tailor-made holidays to the Caribbean, Far East, Maldives and beyond. Flying from Shannon Airport with tropicalsky.ie.